Hey,
My
how
lights
are you?
decided to cut out. You okay? Friend?
Uh, it's great. It's a beautiful day in Atlanta. It's 77 degrees, or about what you would call 24, I think. Yeah.
Nice.
And yeah, it's just a perfect day.
Oh, brilliant.
Hmm.
We're waiting for the sun here. Apparently, we're having a little bit of sunshine next week with some warmer weather, so we're crossing fingers that they're not wrong on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've been waiting for cooler weather here. It's been very, very long, hot summer. Um, yeah.
Um, how have you been with your work-wise? Has that been okay? Has it been keeping you
Um,
busy?
um, No, no, there is no work for anybody anywhere. So when I finished The Chosen at the end of August or July, at the beginning of August, um, I came back to Atlanta knowing that there was no work anywhere.
All right.
Uh-huh. And in a city where there's normally 35 to 45 productions, there is nothing going on. Um, now, now that the writers have settled, I know that a lot of the writers' rooms are opening up.
Oh,
Um,
great.
and that way they can start writing scripts and they'll have everything ready for when the actors settle. And um, what else? We're just waiting on that. Construction crews could go back to work after they start writing scripts and they'll start building sets. Um, but yeah, there is really nothing going on until the writer or until the actors sign their deal. Yeah.
I get you put a
Mm.
pause on everything then.
Hmm. Yeah, everything. All of I know that Cobra Kai tried to go into production,
Yeah.
and they lasted for 3 days before the strikers before they were shut down. And
Wow. Okay.
yeah, and so the producers went back and they said, you know what, we'll just plan for next year. And so that's what a lot of productions are doing.
Yeah.
They're because if you let's say the writers did or I'm sorry, the actors did settle tomorrow, um, it would take about 5 or 6 weeks to get everything kind of going, and that would put you in the middle of November, coming up with Thanksgiving and then Christmas and then New Year's. So
Yeah.
bigger productions, to avoid all the shutdowns, will just wait until January, and that's when things will start up. I know that the new Superman movie is supposed to start production in Atlanta in January, um,
Oh,
and and
brilliant.
and that is something I really want to do. But so does everybody else, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and um, I honestly think by the middle of January there'll be so much work that there won't be enough infrastructure or crew members to fill all the spots.
I
Now,
get you.
um, there's going to be a lot of extra people now, Clara. We used to have really, really large COVID departments. Um,
Okay.
and well, they changed the name to health and safety so that it didn't sound so bad. But a lot of those people will be cut because they'll probably test us a lot, but it won't be like before. Um,
Yeah.
I was on shows where you didn't even have to wear a mask.
That's
And
okay.
so those people will probably fill a lot of the extra spots. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Also, it'll be nice to get back into the swing of everything after being away for so long then.
Yeah, yeah. It'll keep me out of the refrigerator, for one thing. Yeah, I've noticed my clothes seem to be shrinking. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with them. It may not be the fact that I'm not working 14 hours a day, and yeah, so I've had to start. I've started intermittent fasting. Is that? Um, and I was introduced to that by Terry Crews, the
Okay.
actor. I was working with him on Tales of the Walking Dead, and
Yeah.
he told me, he goes, I feel better now than I did when I was 30. And I looked at him and said, just tell me, okay? And he goes, it's intermittent fasting, and I was really doubtful. But since I've had a lot of extra time, I've been doing it for a little while now, and I do feel a bit better now. It's going to take a while for the benefits to really set in, but I think it's kind of a new thing that I can stick with.
Oh, you're doing great.
Hmm.
So keep it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if I could stick to
Well, I
it. Is
mean,
it
you
quite
got a lot of
easy?
kids running around, okay? So I can, I just stay away from the food. I don't have to feed anybody. Um,
Yeah.
and most of my fasting is done while I sleep, for one thing, And
Yeah.
but yeah, I've been doing that.
Oh, that's all right. It's too tempting for me. I see the kids grab something. I'm like, oh, I might just get something as well.
I would be the same way. I would. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
because we're in a village, everything's like fresh homemade cakes and
Oh gosh.
pastries. I'm
Oh,
like, oh,
oh, you can't. All right. Even hearing about, I just broke my fast like an hour ago, and it always says on my app, break it gently. Well, I really don't break it real gently. I break that thing in half. I mean, I start eating at 12:01. You know. Yeah.
oh,
So,
that's
but we don't want to talk about this. I'm sure you have other questions. Yeah.
so I know a lot of people have been asking when do you think the Cobra Kai and a lot of the series are starting back up, like as well as the films. I know the films are like
Yeah.
January. Is that the same for all of the series?
Cobra Kai is January also. Yes.
There are say.
And I was able to work on Blue Beetle um,
Okay.
afterwards, and and the first thing I did was see Sholo, and he was like, "What are you doing here?" And I told him, I go, "Tell your agent that you can be on shows that I'm not on. It's okay." Um, but yeah, they're going to be starting back up, I believe, January, February at the latest, and
Great.
they're only going to do season 6, and then that'll be the series. I think
Okay.
they're planning a couple of spin-offs, but I'm
Yeah.
not privy to what they are yet, and
Yeah.
even if I did know, I couldn't tell anyone, I'm sure. Um,
In the
yeah,
minute.
but yeah, Cobra Kai will start up then, and it's a pretty quick shoot. I mean,
Yeah.
everything's all the sets are built. Um, Everyone knows everyone. It's a pretty quick shoot, um, and plus, a lot like Stranger Things, the kids are just getting too old to
Yeah.
play high school teenagers anymore. Sholo's 22 or 23. Everyone's
Okay.
grown up. During the first seasons, all their mothers were there
Yeah.
because they had to be. And now, it's, yeah, they're all grown up. They really are.
So they're all it grows with them, doesn't it, sometimes? But when it's filmed in season and you have to have such a big break, you'll see
Yeah.
the age, won't you,
Hmm.
difference with it all. So it gets a bit harder, I guess, then,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Well, especially because this story will pick up exactly where it dropped off. And when did we finish that? Okay, when we finished it? I'm just thinking about it. It was right after the Atlanta Braves won the World Series. Not that you guys know, but that would have been at the end of October 2021.
Oh,
So it
wow.
has been, um, and that was the end of season 5. Yeah,
So it's
was
been a while, isn't it?
yeah. It's it'll be over two. It'll be over a 2-year break. Yeah,
Wow, yeah. But
yeah.
so I know the kids recognize Olo on Blue Beetle. They're looking forward to seeing that
But
one.
but the ones that you'll notice the most are the younger kids because 2 years
For
with them and
sure.
they grow. They grow a foot and a half. Sholo and Jake can just shave their beards. They can dress the girls down to look them younger. But when those kids grow, I mean, there ain't nothing you can do about that.
No, it's all the
No.
growth spurts. You,
Hmm.
you can tell
Yeah.
instantly, can't you?
And they'll address it by one line. Wow, you look taller, and then they'll move on. You know what I mean? But they'll address it. The
Yeah.
writers will a little bit. Yeah.
Try and point it out a little bit so everyone can move past it.
Yeah. Yeah. and especially the Cobra Kai fan sites. Some of those guys, I mean, they read into everything we do, and even when it's not intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what this means, and it's like, no, no, it doesn't mean anything. It was just a blue shirt. Yeah, it doesn't mean anything. Yeah. Um, hmm
They like to pick up on every little
Oh
detail.
yeah, and they're very good. And I get questions sometimes from our friend Matt. I know he's watching, so let's acknowledge Matt. All right.
Yeah.
Um, and he'll ask me questions, and I'll kind of look at him and go, or listen to him and think, I don't know, dude. Okay. That's a pretty in-depth question about the plot, and like what's in the back of the writer's mind. Um,
Yeah.
sometimes to me, it's just a Monday. And I'm just trying to get through the day. Yeah. hmm
Just a normal day
Yeah,
for
it
everyone.
is. Yeah, it is. You
I
know.
think when you grow up watching something for so long, you do feel quite connected
Yeah.
to something
Oh yeah.
sometimes. And I think that's why everyone gets so intrigued on every little
Well,
thing and they'll
I
remember stuff.
I've been so lucky. Okay, I have. I did Cobra Kai. Sorry, I wasn't sitting correctly. And but before Cobra Kai, I did Breaking Bad, and
That's great.
and the fans on Breaking Bad were um, very enthusiastic. I'm trying to think of the word. Some of them were kind of crazy, and I mean,
Okay.
they would drive to Albuquerque and follow us around from location to location
Wow.
to where we had security, and we started changing our set signs. At first
Yeah.
they just said Breaking Bad, and then I remember we changed them to WW, but that was really easy to figure out that it stood for Walter White. And I think at the end it was LRQ because it made no sense. And but then again, there wasn't that many shows going on in Albuquerque, so I mean they would turn up every day from like everywhere.
Really?
Yeah, every day, every single day.
Wow. Would
hmm
that make it hard to get into the set and do what you're
Well,
doing?
what it does is it makes like if we're shooting in the neighborhood, the Breaking Bad neighborhood, which some of them really didn't care for us anyway because it was their neighborhood,
Yeah.
and 40 trucks pull in on them on at 8 in the morning and start unloading equipment, and they're like, "Hey, get off my lawn," and I mean some of them welcome it, but I bet after years of it, they got kind of tired. Um, and
Yeah.
so the fans that pour in don't know the rules and will sit on their lawn. And so, it makes it a bit of a challenge, but those people are the reasons that we have jobs. Okay.
Yes.
Um, you and Matt are the reason that I get up to go to work every day, or
Oh,
that I
there.
can go to work because you like the production that we're all a part of, and you're enthusiastic about it. And so,
So,
I mean, it's better than going to the bakery, all right? No one
yeah.
asked me what was going. I used to run restaurants, and no one was like, "Hey, what'd you do today?" Um,
Yeah.
ever. And so, yeah, it was a challenge, but I mean, you guys make it worthwhile. Yeah,
Oh,
and you make it,
nice.
and you make us feel important sometimes. Um, I was in
That's nice.
yeah, I was in a restaurant with my dad one time years ago, and someone came up and said, "You spoke at my." Sometimes I would speak at film schools about how to get a job, and they were like,
Okay.
You spoke at my in my class today. Hey, can I get a picture with you and your autograph?" And when I sat back down, my dad looked at me and goes, "Well, when did you become a big shot?" And I was like, "I'm not, Dad." And he literally looked at me. He was like, "I never seen," and I was like, "It doesn't happen often, but when it does, you feel kind of good about yourself." And it happened in front of my dad, so that
Oh,
was
that's like
even
perfect timing,
that
isn't
was
it?
the best thing of it. Yeah.
Oh,
hmm
it's nice because you are such a big part of everything, and you're getting to know
hmm
the cast as well, and sort of
Yeah.
grow with them, which is it's
Yeah.
really nice.
Yeah.
So
and they become friends, I mean, where, um, yeah, um, like someone says, how well do you know, we'll say like Billy and Ralph, and I go, well, every time they see me, they say, hey, Johnny, what's going on? And I acknowledge them. We never really go hang out at the bar, but we talk at work. We know about each other's kids. They know, you know, um, and then we leave and we don't see each other for a couple of years. So when you come back, it's so cool to see each other. And
Yeah.
you know, and and Cobra Kai, just like The Chosen, and just like Breaking Bad, okay, all did three things. They started off really small. No
Yeah.
one knew about them. And then they grew into successes. And you know what? It was great to come back um, to Breaking Bad and to Cobra Kai during seasons 2 and 3 to go, hey, people think we're really good. And I go, I got people calling me from England. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah. Um, and that was Matt. Got a shout out to Matt. And
That's
there's another big fan named Gabe. Gabe's in Texas.
okay.
I have to make sure I acknowledge these people. Um,
That's it.
and But I mean, that's really cool. With Breaking Bad, we got our numbers right. Nobody was watching us the first season. We were
All
sure
right.
we were sure we were gonna be canceled. Absolutely sure. And but we all said, hey, it's 8 episodes. Um, that's about 12 paychecks. So and that's how, I mean, we're like going, that's a shame because this thing seems really good. Um,
Yeah.
and and it seemed like the only ones really watching it at first were the crew members and the critics.
I get
Um,
it.
but the critics said it was good, and then after a while it caught on, and then they started following us around, and then our budget goes up a little bit. And we notice things are nicer. Um, yeah, yeah,
I think that sometimes you have to just keep letting it roll a bit so more word gets about and then
yeah,
sort of catches with everyone then.
yeah, yeah. Um, like we with Breaking Bad, there was a scene in particular that was we were shooting interiors, and it was the one where Mr. Cranston or Walter White tells everyone that he's dying and he wants to do it on his terms, and they kept reshooting that scene over and over. And I turned and I looked one time and I saw one of the grips kind of like rubbing his eyes, and I was thinking, I thought that was really good, okay. And it was like, hey, you okay? Yeah, I got something in my eye. But it was because
Oh,
the acting was so good that even us,
yeah.
we're like going, isn't it good? I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard to tell, Claire, at first because there's no music and it's not cut, and you hear it over and over and over. Um, so sometimes it's hard to tell. I mean, it definitely isn't funny the third or fourth time, not like it was
Yeah.
the first. So, but yeah, when it turns out that those 12 and 14-hour days kind of pay off, that's cool. Yeah.
Oh, do anyone, when it's getting a bit of a long day and everyone's getting tired, does anyone sort of muck around to try and sort of, wait,
uh,
wake up?
okay. Yeah, people are always joking around, especially I know, but on Breaking Bad, we used to eat the crystal meth because it was blue rock candy, right?
Oh,
And so it's
nice.
3 in the morning, and you're like, man, I'm tired. And the guy who played Jesse, um, wow. Anyway, he first started eating it, and then Mr. Banks or Jonathan Banks would eat it. And so then I reached over and I'd grab a handful, and it's all sugar. So it'd give you a little boost. Or,
Yeah.
I mean, people are always goofing around, just to um, you know, keep it light. It can seem to be a bit of a grind, and we sometimes forget how lucky we are. Um, I mean, when we're on set, we're always talking about, man, I can't wait till we're off, or what are you going to do this weekend,
Yeah.
or when this season wraps, what do are you going to jump on another show? Um, and then, yeah, we kind of forget. forget sometimes, how lucky we are, and we'll complain, gosh, this was hard. But yeah, we're reminded kind of often that um, we're lucky. We're very
That's
lucky.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's it. I always get names muddled up, but I think is it Paige? She did some makeup as well, didn't she?
Uh, Paige, which
From
show?
Cobra Kai.
Um,
She did some makeup, didn't she,
yeah,
as well? I think.
yes,
But
yeah. The makeup girls sorry, the hair and makeup people on Cobra Kai are some of the best in the business. Absolutely, Um, the ones that I'm really amazed about to change subjects are the hair and makeup on The Chosen, the
yeah.
show about Jesus. For one thing, all the costumes have to be handmade, and,
Oh
and
wow.
all of them look like burlap sacks. Um, and one of the main things they do is they have to get everyone dirty, because I mean, it's 2,000 years ago, so you weren't bathing every day, and you weren't brushing your teeth, and um, and your feet are extremely dirty because um, um, you're walking in dirt and sand all the time. So those people are really amazing. Wardrobe like Ken is amazing. Um, Mandy, uh, who's the head of hair and makeup, Andy Benton, has just done an incredible job with that show. And she was on Queen of the South before she was on Chosen. So
That's
all these
great.
people, all of these people come, you know, um, from other shows. When I went to work on The Chosen, I knew a lot of them already from Queen of the South, which was also shot in Texas. Um,
Really? Is that the one with the cowboy scenes and things?
Uh, no, no. Queen of the South was about a female drug lord.
Definitely not cowboys.
No, no. There was no. The Cowboys. Uh, I have done. I did um, Ridiculous Six, right? I did day playing on the Magnificent Seven, but I did a lot of those reenactment shows that you see on there where they have interviews and then they flash the reenactments.
Yeah.
And I did a show called Gunslingers and a couple of other ones. But that was shot mostly in New Mexico at Bonanza Creek. There's three different Western towns, and they're all about 5 miles from each other in New Mexico. So
Wow.
you'll move from one to another, so it'll have a different look. But I mean, you look at them, it's the same stuff that, I mean, A Million Ways to Die in the West was shot at. Um, like I said, The Ridiculous Six, The Magnificent Seven. And it's also where that thing with Alec Baldwin happened in that
Oh,
church where
nice.
the lady was shot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And died. The director of photography. That was also at that location.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah. Um, but so,
Uh,
no, I worked there quite a bit in that area.
Oh, I bet it's a lot better having somewhere like that close to each other, so it makes it easier when you need to go to different
Yeah.
locations when they're filming and
Yeah.
that.
And that's why the first one was built like years and years ago. And then they built another one. I think it's called Eve's Movie Ranch. Um, During the strike, they were having like music festivals and stuff there um, that looked really cool. And then there's another one. But yeah, it gives different perspectives. So you don't see the um, same set over and over. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. I'd love to see a proper set of a ranch and everything. The
Yeah. Yeah.
Western scenes.
It is very, it's very authentic. And yeah, it is.
But is it like, because I know some of them they just use the fronts, don't they? Is some of them like genuine buildings or
Very,
is most
very,
of it?
very good question. Okay. Um, a lot, okay, on Bonanza Creek, a lot of the buildings are what they call three-dimensional, like the bar, the bank. Some of the ones running down the street are just storefronts with, 2x4s showing up against them. And that's the way, I'm going to give you a little example of differences. On Breaking Bad, they used the traditional way of doing it, right? All interiors were shot on stage.
Okay.
All exteriors went to location. Walter White's house, everyone's real familiar, throwing the pizza up on the roof from the driveway and everything. But you walk in the door of that house, it looks nothing like the set.
Okay.
Okay. There is nothing the same inside the house as the set. The Chosen built, they built their own set outside of Midlothian, Texas, on a little lake. So it looks like the city of Capertheum. Sorry for those. But it looks like that city or that town on, I think, the Dead Sea. Once again, people are going to get onto my Bible knowledge here. Okay. But they did an incredible thing there. Those are three-dimensional sets. They're that way on the outside. When you go through the door, it's exactly like that. It's the interior inside, which allows light to come through in a way that that's harder to do on an interior set. They can do it, but the way it shines through on those are really cool. Now, the challenge is the darn sun moves, and they keep having to reshoot the scene over and over.
Yeah.
The scene doesn't call for the darn sun to move. So that's where the challenge with those three-dimensional sets are, because they have to have lights that kind of overpower, or there's ways that the gaffer does to adjust the lighting. And I mean, he's literally a genius the way he does things, absolutely. And I'm going to give one more shot. The people that really always impress me are set constructors, the people on construction. They look so real. In New Mexico once, there was a big concrete barrier, and I was really tired, and I went up to lean up against the concrete barrier, not realizing it was made of styrofoam.
Oh, wow.
And me and it went toppling over and over. They ran over, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And then they picked it up, and the guy looked at me, "Looks real, doesn't it, Johnny?" And I was like, "I thought so." Okay. Those guys are absolute artists and genius. I mean, you look at the sets, you think they're real, and they look real even when you're up close. I mean, those guys are incredible. So as you can see, it takes a village to make a film.
Yeah,
It does.
definitely.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really nice how it all pans together, especially as you said with the dirt and things. When I've seen the pictures, it's like I tried to do some dirt MUA recently, and I was like, no, it's not as good as what they can do.
They have the artists, and they'll bring him in. And if you have 400 or let's say 60 background, and they're calling them out, they're getting onto the van, and they have these big puffy things. I'm sure there's a term that I don't know. And they're puffing, and it's not dirt, but it sure gets them dirty. And, they'll be hitting them on the way in, and then they have, before every scene is shot, the assistant director will yell out the words, "Last looks." And in comes hair and makeup real quick to make sure, okay, everything's right. Last looks are over. Sound speed, they'll start rolling sound. They'll call for camera, and then action.
Oh,
and then,
brilliant.
So up to the last minute, Clara. I mean, literally. Literally. Because if they don't, you guys will notice, and you are not a forgiving audience when mistakes are made. I've seen pictures on the internet, and you can see like the production assistants waiting to send in the background, and the camera leaned over just enough to get them in the frame, and you guys will post that on Facebook and point it out every time. And it's like, we cannot make a mistake. You will
They'll
not let
spot
us.
it.
Oh yeah, you will spot it and you will exploit it in a way that was never, you know, I mean, yeah.
Oh, I always feel sorry for the one with the boom mics because if
Yeah,
ever that shows, everyone
you
notices,
know.
don't
Hey,
they?
by the way, Gabe just joined. I noticed
Hello.
he's the guy from Texas, the Cobra Kai fan. Hey, Gabe. Um, and the boom mic, though, the boom mic doesn't happen anymore because you can take that out in with digital effects now. You used to see it more in the 80s and 90s, right? The boom kind of
Yeah. Used to
popping
see it
down from
drop
above
down,
like
didn't
that,
you?
you know? Yeah. Well, now if it's in the scene, they can take it out as long as they have enough money. Yeah,
And
yeah.
so it makes it a lot easier with all the digital stuff that they can do now, but it
Hmm.
helps quite a bit, doesn't it, with the background
Oh,
and
yeah.
that?
Yeah. When I was on Thor Ragnarok, I was that day when Anthony Hopkins dies. What's his name? Odin. That's it. Sorry. Um, and they're in this big green field. Looks like
Oh,
what
I don't know
I.
what's going on there. Sorry.
Hey, that was cool.
Just had some
Like,
glass
how
on.
did you do that? All
I
right.
have no idea. I just tried to move some of the writing down off the screen, and then I just noticed I had some magic glasses pop up. I was like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But and the magic of film is like that day. Um, Thor and Odin are in a place that I would imagine Scotland looking like. I've never been there, you know, green
Yeah.
fields in a big open ocean. We were in Georgia on a horse race.
Really?
Yes. Okay. Hottest day. It was so bad. I remember we had a Haagen-Dazs truck show up,
Wow.
and the entire crew ran to the Haagen-Dazs truck for free ice cream. But that day, you know, Anthony Hopkins and Thor are standing, you know, and in front of the, you know, on a green hill with the blue screen off. And I'm like, what's that? And they're like, that'll be the ocean when it's on TV. I mean, when it's on
Wow.
in the theaters. Um, so, and I forgot the point I was going to make. Darn. Anyway,
You was mentioning about the backgrounds can look so different with the
yeah,
digital arts.
yeah. And how we can be anywhere now. You know, most of the downtown scenes for the Avengers are all shot in downtown Atlanta.
Oh
You guys think
wow.
it's New York
Yeah.
every time. Yeah. Yeah. There's a couple of blocks in Atlanta that look a little bit like New York. And then
Okay.
they'll just put the skyline in the back, you know?
I get you so that it gives off the same effect.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's brilliant. I never would have thought that because I really thought that was Scotland or
Yeah.
Wales or something.
Yeah.
That's
It's
pretty
just a horse
cool.
farm in Georgia. Yeah.
Wow. So I know the kids are all Marvel fans, so they want to go
Mhm.
to America soon. So we're hoping in a year or two. We was going to go next year, but some of the family's been a bit poorly, so it might be the year after
Hmm.
now. But yeah, we want to see a bit more because I've only been to
Oh,
Florida, so we
oh,
want to see a bit
yeah.
more.
That that is not America.
No,
Okay.
we
That
want to
is
see
where we
more.
send all the crazy people. Okay. Yeah, it's just a joke in America. There's always a joke. Most news stories start with the words Florida man, and then they go into some crazy story that happened. But they always start with the two words Florida man. Um, can't exactly explain that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Mm,
But
mm.
nice to see a bit more of true American go all
Yeah,
around as well.
yeah. It's a big place, you know. It's very big. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know quite a few of you over in America. Just to visit everyone, we'd have to be there ages to fit everywhere in because
Yeah.
everything's quite a bit from each other, aren't you?
Well, I mean, yes, but if you want to get a good taste of America, go to Colorado, go to Utah. Those are two states next to each other that have a
Okay,
completely different topography, from the mountains to what looks like the old Roadrunner cartoons with you
okay.
know, and the Old West. And if you keep going a couple hundred more miles, you'll be in California. So you'll
Oh,
get,
brilliant.
I mean, you can get a good chunk of what America looks like um, through that. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be great, that.
Hmm. Yeah.
Now, are you guys ever coming over to England as well?
Um,
Is there any
I
filming being done?
you, when they do, I mean, right now the Superman movie, is in Europe somewhere,
Okay.
and they're doing, but when they do go to Europe, um, they generally pick up the crew. I mean, they take the actors and the directors and what we call all of the above line people, and they'll go there, but they'll grab the crew locally a lot,
Yeah.
you know. So they'll use British people if they're shooting in Britain, Irish people, and so on. I mean, sometimes I know a few people, um, that they've shot stuff in Denmark, which they told me is an incredible place. I have a friend that's a first AD who's in Dubai right now, because with the strike going on, that's really the only, you have to go to Europe to get on anything right now. Um,
Okay, yeah.
and so,
It's,
no, generally they pick up their crew there, um, because it's less expensive, than taking me over, housing me,
I
and
get
and
you.
who knows what kind of trouble I'll be, when we get there. Yeah, yeah.
So they try and keep it like just close knit number and get it done and get back sort of thing.
Well, I mean, generally when you go on locations like that, they're smaller numbers, and
Yeah.
they're shooting smaller scenes, unless it's like, what was that? What was that Ron Howard film with Tom Hanks? God, I can never
Oh,
remember it.
I
Um,
get lost with the names of the films so easy.
yeah, that was the Da Vinci Code. When they did that, they shot all of that in Europe, so it was an all European crew. Yeah. Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was pretty good as well.
Yeah, I saw it recently and I forgot how good it was. Yeah.
Did you say you've also done a bit of what Walking Dead, is it?
Can you say that again for
Was
me?
that Walking Dead?
Uh, Walking Dads? Oh,
Yeah,
Walking
Dead.
Dead. Walking Dead. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Um, I did Tales of the Walking Dead, and I did
Yeah.
that here in Atlanta. Yeah,
Okay. And
yeah.
I was that any good?
I never saw it. I don't really watch everything I do. And but I didn't like the shoot for one reason, and that
Yeah.
was because it was shot mostly at night.
I
Um,
get you.
and so our crew call would be 6 p.m., and we would get our last shot in as the sun was coming up. And then, you wrap up, you drive home, you try to get some sleep in the middle of the day, you wake up, and then you go shoot at 5 or 6 p.m.
Oh
And
wow.
that, you know, but it was a show set in the dark. Um,
Yeah.
I had some friends that did the Twilight movies, and they told me, and I go, um, well, it must have been nice because it was shady, and they just looked at me with this look. It never stopped raining. It always rained. You could just see the anger and stuff. It never stopped raining. And so once again, even though we're privileged to be in the film industry, we find a way kind of like, anyway.
Find something.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of it. Yeah.
Because it's still work, isn't it? So if
Yeah.
it's going to be a bit
And,
dull one
and,
day, it's like,
and the great thing about Cobra Kai, Bob Wilson, the producer, doesn't like to stay up late at night. All right. So crew call is at 7 a.m. every day, and they wrap around, 6 or 7 p.m., which is, um, a godsend in this business. And
yeah,
they don't generally um, which, and I mean by that, your Monday crew call is always the earliest. If
yeah,
it's going to get later, it'll get later each day until the end of the week. But anyway, Bob doesn't like that. Bob doesn't
that's
like
great.
to go to locations. So the first season we went to that high school that was, close by. When I came in on season 2, the dang high school was built on set. you know, um, they got the exterior shots, and I'd walk in, and the high school, the entryway and the cafeteria are on set, you know, and
Makes
it
it a
was
lot
just,
easier.
Bob doesn't like to go places, you know. Bob likes to have a very even day, and Bob is a wonderful man for just that reason. Okay, just that reason. Yeah,
Sounds ideal though. It makes it a lot easier if everything's there and
I live
start and finish.
I live 5 miles from there. Okay, I live 5 miles from the set. It was an 8-minute drive in the morning. Yeah,
So I
it
see.
was it
Oh,
was never like that coming home because it was rush hour. But in the morning, yeah, it was 8 or 9 minutes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
bet it's really hard if it's further away. You have to keep upping and traveling and staying there for so long.
Well, they have rules in the industry for that. I worked on a show in New Mexico where if you were 52 miles away from the production office, then you're called a distant hire, and they have to give you someplace. They have to rent you a hotel, so you don't have to drive so far. Um,
Okay.
um, a lot of I remember this one production set themselves up like 49 miles away from Albuquerque, and we would all have to drive every day. And then
Wow.
the set from the production office was like 20 miles from there. Um, it was so yeah, there was a lot of travel in that. So when we're in Atlanta and Cobra Kai is an 8-minute drive, that is incredible. Most of the time, Clara, almost every other time. I don't know if you guys are familiar with set signs. Set
Yeah, some
signs,
of them.
they're yellow, right, with
Right.
arrows, and they have codes on them that productions know. Hey, that's my code. Wow, and there's a sign right there. In Atlanta,
Okay.
like I said, in Albuquerque, our set signs would say BRBA for Breaking Bad, until we
Okay.
changed them. Um, in Atlanta, I'll pass 5 or 6 set signs before I get to the one I'm going to. There's that many productions here.
Wow.
Yeah, there.
So is there a few being filmed on the same sort of sets at the same time? Do you
Well,
have to work around each
we'll
other?
be at the same stage. I remember one time I was working on a show, and I looked to my right, and I went, "Man, that's a lot of equipment on that sound stage." And someone goes, "That's Jumanji. That's Jumanji
Oh,
2." And I was like, "Oh, no wonder." And they're like, I go, "That's a big trailer," and they're like, "That's Dwayne Johnson." And they go, "See the bigger one?" And that was what's his name? The little guy. God, come on,
oh, Kevin.
Kevin. Yeah, Kevin Hart. Um, his was even bigger. But anyway, so yeah, sometimes we're in the same area. Um, I remember once I was on a show called Long Slow Exhale, and it was one of the worst productions I ever did. It was so hot, it was terrible,
Oh,
and it's never even come out. You know,
oh, right.
yeah, it was like, so we did all that work, but we were on a location one day, and we were up against Black Panther 2, which was also
Okay.
and I went to use a bathroom, and I was walking up the steps. The guy goes, "Hey, you got your badge?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Wrong show. Your bathroom's over there." And I was looking at him going, "Dude, can I just run in? Come on, like that." And he was like, "Nope, nope." And that was Marvel
Wow.
security. Marvel security was like, "Nope, you got to go use your bathroom over there." And Marvel security, they don't play. They do
No.
not play. So no, I had to
No
walk over.
toilet for you.
Um, I walked quickly to the other one. Yeah. But yeah. So there are times when we're very close. Yeah.
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 I suppose I imagine some securities have to be that little bit stricter, I imagine, depending on who's there that day, don't they?
What do you mean, like actor wise?
Yeah, like when they're being a little bit strict, you said Marvel can be a little bit more
Well,
stricter.
Marvel is strict because they have their own professional security office. The rest of us hire security guards. They're usually
Oh,
minimum wage guys that don't make enough money. And I mean, um, I mean, they're nice people, but you don't know how many security guards I've woken up before by like going,
Really?
hey buddy, I need you to unlock the gate, and I'll see him start to wake up, Clara, and he'll be like,
Um,
I was just, and I go, dude, I don't care, just unlock the gate and know that everybody's behind me, because a lot of times I was the first one on set that day,
yeah.
and because I'm just that idiot that shows up first.
It's a
And
good job you're
I
there,
would
though.
tell them, hey, just be aware that everyone's like 20 minutes behind me, and so I mean they'll wake up. But Marvel security, no, they're real. I mean, like almost police officer type people. Um,
Really?
yeah, if you signed an NDA with Marvel or Disney, they don't mess around. A non-disclosure agreement, right? Um,
Yeah.
that says you cannot take pictures on set. You cannot say on Facebook where, well, I'm here today. You can't even do that, because they will troll your Facebook page and get onto you. Marvel don't play. Okay. They don't. They spend a lot of money to keep this stuff secret, and some craft service guy isn't going to take a picture of Scarlett Johansson doing something and then post it. Okay, because if he does, that guy's last day was that day, and you will
That's
probably not get hired by another production. Um, yeah. So.
and
Um,
I hear about anyone who's worked with Disney, they always say, I'm working on something, and
yeah.
then they tell me afterwards, I've been on that, and I'm like, oh, okay, now you can
Well,
tell me.
what you can really tell by Clara is you'll see the crew post pictures like um, for that show the day after it's released. I have a lot of friends that did Oppenheimer in New Mexico, right?
Okay.
When Oppenheimer was released, all of a sudden my friends are like, okay, here's my photo dump, you know, that I couldn't, talk about. The biggest secret ever in film, I think, was El Camino, the Breaking Bad little movie afterwards. Um,
Okay.
that was the most secret thing ever. Nobody knew what was going on almost until it ended.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and I have a lot of friends, and I contacted, um, I have this one friend, Anthony Wamigo. Sorry, Anthony. Anthony's on everything. He's a star driver. He drives the big actor because
Okay.
he's a very large Native American gentleman who drives very well, but is also a very large Native American gentleman. All right. So
Okay.
he's also kind of like a bodyguard, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Anthony knows everything. And so someone goes, hey, I heard that they were shooting a sequel to Breaking Bad. I go, there's no way I would know. In my arrogance, I said all this and sent a text message out. And Anthony sent me back going, I can't say anything to you about that because, and then I was like, what, and I realized that if it wasn't happening, he would have said no. Um,
Yeah.
but, and also his wife is the background casting for Breaking Bad and Better
Oh.
Call Saul. So she knew all the secrets, Um, but
They
yeah,
just have to keep it all
uh,
close.
it was amazing that no one really caught on to what was going on until a newspaper guy in Albuquerque noticed that, wow, they're shooting at a lot of the same locations that Breaking Bad used to shoot at. Um,
Yeah.
and and that's when, and the actors were coming in to town, and they were under different names or at B&Bs, not at hotels,
Oh,
in disguises, so nobody caught on.
yeah.
Yeah, like a friend of mine, Ashlyn Padilla, does all the hair and makeup, and um, she was telling me that for that scene where Bryan Cranston was there with Jesse Pinkman, right, in the restaurant. The way they filmed that was they covered all the windows at that restaurant and said that it was it was being
Refurbed
remodeled.
in.
It was being
Yeah.
remodeled, and
Okay.
they disguised everything so it did not look like there was anything being filmed there. And then they added, like I said, all the scenes going through the windows later, you know?
That's brilliant.
That's what I said too. It's like, wow, but no one knew anything about that show. It was a complete secret. It was amazing.
And you
Um,
wouldn't tell with the windows
you
either,
couldn't see in, but that was the scene where Bryan Cranston played Walter White again.
oh,
And yeah, so no one could see him. Yeah, that couldn't happen. Yeah,
so
yeah.
was they having to wear the disguises every time they just sort of left the B&B so nobody knew they were there then?
I don't know exactly that, but um, you know, I know that there was a lot of secrecy. If you put them at a hotel in Albuquerque, someone will see them, and
Yeah.
then they'll figure it out.
Yeah, they'd work
So
it out, wouldn't they?
they hit them at B&Bs. I think they had people running to get their food. They were hiding, and then they shot it as quickly as they could. But yeah, they were literally brilliant,
And you
brilliant.
say you know someone with the Twilight as well. I gotta ask because I was all Twilight.
Okay.
Is there actually a place that's like Forks? Like where is that
Uh,
exactly?
okay. I've never seen any of the Twilight movies. I apologize. Um,
That's
there is
okay.
a place, I believe Chuck told me they were in Oregon or Washington. That's where they
Okay.
were. Okay. It was, yeah, generally when they do that stuff, they go to Vancouver, British, because it's cheap there, you
Yeah.
know. But they shot that, and you can check it on your phone, um, like IMDb, and look at locations, right?
Okay.
And it will tell you exactly where they shot almost every scene around there. But there is a place there where there's less sunlight and it rained a lot, and that's where vampires and werewolves I guess. I
That's
don't
why
know
they had
anything.
to choose
Yeah,
it.
yeah. And it was easier. You know, it's easier when you're in the right location. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, by us, it's a lot of mountains and that, but there's nowhere sort of sandy like you've got for your Texas films and that. There's nothing like that over here. So I imagine they'd have to use a lot of them digital arts, like you said, with putting the image in the background
Well,
because it's all trees.
yeah. Well, I can tell you that the films being shot in Texas right now um, are a lot of them are by Taylor Sheridan, the guy behind Yellowstone. Um,
Right.
I know he's doing a Bass Reeves film. Bass Reeves was an African American lawman in the 1800s in the United States. And he is the character that the Lone Ranger is actually based on.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so I know that Taylor Sheridan shot that in Texas. But see, in Texas, you can find places that are kind of out in the open.
Yeah.
And then the only thing you have to do is take out digital effects will take out any telephone lines that are in the area that shouldn't be, or um, on The Chosen, we had one employee, and I used to say, what does this guy do anyway? Um, whose job it was just to watch um, commercial radar to make sure a plane didn't fly over while they were shooting. And
Oh,
you picked
yes.
up a plane, or God forbid, you see a plane in the sky overhead. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, they had one employee just doing that, just that.
Because it
Um,
wouldn't really have fitted in with the chosen set, I imagine, having something
yeah, yeah,
fly over.
yeah. Probably not a lot of a lot of airplane, you know, back then. But the guy who is the creator of The Chosen is Dallas Jenkins. Dallas is a genius. Um, I mean, and it's when you see him in work, you're like, oh wow, he really is a genius. Um, Literally, he'll come into lunch, and sometimes he'll just find me and go, Johnny, where's my and I'll hand him his lunch or his dinner or whatever, and he takes off immediately and goes straight to the editing bay where he starts to edit what he shot earlier that day. Um, I mean, he I mean, he never ever stops. Um, And he wrote everything. He directs everything. Yeah.
They're very busy then.
Hmm.
But it's a bit easier when it's just in one set, like with Cobra Kai. You can just have everything there ready done for
Yeah.
you rather than
Well,
kicking from different sets.
yeah. And Cobra Kai, we do that a lot. But when we shoot the exteriors, even though now the exteriors for the apartment, they built that in the parking lot at um, at the stage, um, which I used to go, hey, I used to park there. But anyway, they built the exteriors of the apartments, and all they are is the exteriors. You walk through the door, and there's 2x4s holding the walls up, um,
Mm.
and so it's mostly there. But when they have to, and Mr. Miyagi's place was in the garden right next to the stage. Um,
Okay.
so yeah.
Can
Um,
you actually go in that one, or is that more the set now?
no,
The dojo?
there, you can. I mean, they're never going to let the public in for.
No.
Um, I mean, they're not going to do that. But I mean, I would go there on the weekends because I would have something to do, and
Yeah.
sometimes I would just go inside the set and take a little video, and I would send it to like Gabe or Matt, because I'm there alone, and I can kind of like do some behind the scenes stuff for them,
Yeah.
and I would do that occasionally, and just for basically those two guys. I didn't. There's a lot of people that asked me to, but I didn't trust them not to post it, and
Yeah.
then my ass would have been in some trouble.
Yeah.
Kind of putting it lightly. Uh, yeah, but yeah, I would do that for those guys because I thought they were
You can
um,
tell who's going to be legit and just keep it
yeah,
and look at it themselves and enjoy it.
yeah. I mean, and also those two guys knew more about the show than I did sometimes, and would ask me questions, and I was like, wow, I don't know. But I was standing next to him when it happened, man. Um, yeah. Um, but yeah, they're great guys.
I
Always
can
really enjoyed those
surprise
guys.
you how
Mm-hmm.
much they know. Because I thought I watched it a lot until
Mm-hmm.
I heard them say, "Well, do you remember this?" I was like, "I can't remember that name." And go, which one was that one? And like
Well,
that. So I was like,
Matt will tell me that he's on his third or fourth time through it, and I don't. I'd almost be embarrassed to go. I watch it like once, and then I don't watch it again. Generally, yeah. Most of the shows I've done, I never seen. Um, um, I've done a lot of shows, So
sometimes
yeah,
it's hard to keep up with everything, I
I've
guess, isn't it?
I've done about 60 to 70 different movies and television shows. Um, yeah, because I can give you an example. A while, I don't, maybe it was a couple years ago. Anyway, I was cleaning my apartment one day and I had Netflix or HBO on or something, and I looked at the TV and went, "Hey, I worked with that actor. I remember him." And then I looked up and I go, "And I worked with her and that guy." And I think I did this show, and I couldn't tell. I just kept, and I looked at the title. I didn't recognize the title. Well,
Yeah.
and I waited for the credits, and all of a sudden I was like, "Oh yeah, I did this. There's my name," and they changed the name of it, and it just looked different. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and had a different feel, but that has happened to me before, where I was like, "Gosh, I think I did this." Um, yeah.
But it's a nice surprise though sometimes. Just
Hmm.
finding something and then like, oh yeah, there I am.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly like that. Um, I did that with Office Christmas Party too. I kept Courtney B. Vance, who's a great actor and is married to Angela Bassett. Um, I see him on the screen and I'm looking at it, and then I look on my wall, right?
Yeah.
And I look up there and hang on, bam. And I look
Ah,
up there and I see me and him, and I look at and I go, he's wearing those clothes. I think this is, I mean, he's wearing those exact clothes in that picture with me. And yeah, I'm enough of a narcissist that I waited to see. Yeah, there's my name. Just want to make sure. Yeah, yeah,
It's always good to have a look, though, to go, yeah.
I did. Okay, I definitely did. Yeah,
That's brilliant.
yeah.
Oh, but it's been lovely to catch up with you, everything, because I know at the moment my battery's at flashing. I can see it at the top going a bit funny, so.
Don't worry. I understand that once I get going, sometimes I don't give other people even a
Oh
chance.
no, that's why you come back on and talk some more
Yeah.
about them.
All right. It was so good seeing you again.
And
Mhm.
you, thank you for the lovely chat. It'd be great to hear some more of your great stories.
All right. We can do it again sometimes. Um,
Definitely.
after the first year, I might have some more stories to tell you.
That'd be great.
All right.
And you
Have a
go for
great day.
great. And you, is it still quite early? I can, is it one-ish, isn't it? It's two?
Here in the eastern United States, it is 2:30. 2:30.
Oh, it's nearly time for your game as well.
It is the last regular season game for the Atlanta Braves before they go on to win the World Series over the next few weeks. The Atlanta Falcons lost in London this morning. So yeah,
Oh.
yeah,
Well, hopefully
yeah.
it's better this afternoon.
It'll be great. Thanks for inviting me in.
That's all right. Thank you for coming on. It's been lovely.
All right, all right,
All right, you take care. Thanks again.
all right.
Have a
Bye,
great
everyone.
day. Keep safe. Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining. Bye. Bye.